How's it going, everyone? My name is Sean, and welcome to the Courageour Frights, a channel where we talk about movies and games, especially those dealing with the sci-fi, action, and horror genres. Hope you're all having a fantastic day. Late last night, we got the first full-length trailer for Toho's 33rd Godzilla film titled Godzilla Minus One, so I thought it might be cool to take a look at it and see what sort of information we could learn from it. So this is my scene-by-scene breakdown analysis. The trailer begins with people fleeing through the streets in a panic, a sequence very familiar to fans of the kaiju genre, although this new take looks to be much more intense than previous entries in the franchise. One of the major differences between this depiction and previous films is that the point of view here is much more ground level, showing devastation on a scale that we haven't yet witnessed in Godzilla films. The next sequence shows a pair of train conductors screaming in terror as their train is thrown by Godzilla in a sequence similar to the original 1954 Godzilla segment where he attacked the train yard, and various images of Godzilla with a train in his hands or mouth, which we'll also be getting in Minus One as well. Here we see that this truly is a passion project for Takashi Yamazaki, as he is credited not only as the director, but also the director of VFX and the screenwriter. It seems most of his prior filmography has been leading to this moment in some way or another, as he previously has directed such films as the Always Sunset trilogy. The second film, of course, famously featured a Godzilla dream sequence, The Fighter Pilot and Great War of Archimedes, two films about World War II era Japan, and sci-fi horror films such as the live-action adaptation of Parasite. He also directed the kaiju action sequences for Godzilla the Ride. Yamazaki's vision for Godzilla seems to have changed very little since 2007, both in design as well as his focus on an early Showa, immediate post-war Japan as the setting. And we get a cool shot of his reflection in the glass as he advances towards a bystander, which to me is a bit reminiscent of the hospital scene in GMK. And here we see Godzilla chomping into a train, similar to the original Godzilla film, which I previously mentioned. The next scene shows a crowd of people getting crushed to death, first by Godzilla's tail as it swipes through a row of buildings, and then trampled beneath his massive feet, which buckle the concrete streets. A group of people desperately cling to the side of a building as it collapses in a similar fashion to the reporters in the original film. And we get another terrific shot of Godzilla stomping on a mass of people trying to escape from him. You can clearly see the detail in his feet in this scene, which actually resemble Godzilla 1998 in a way. The next big set piece is of a nuclear explosion in front of Godzilla that wipes out a huge portion of the city with the fallout. It's not entirely clear if this is from an atom bomb that perhaps the US military drops in an attempt to kill him, though the yield does look too low for that. So personally, I think this may be the result of Godzilla's atomic breath, which would effectively mean that each time he uses it, it's the equivalent of a small nuke going off. This concept was toyed with in GMK briefly, but only in one quick scene and then never revisited, so it would be pretty interesting if this happens more consistently in Minus One. Post-war Japan had lost everything. This is sort of the concept behind the entire film as a whole, in that Japan starts out devastated by the fire bombings of the country at the end of World War II, and then Godzilla attacks, putting them in the negative. From 0 to minus, as the trailer puts it. Personally, I think Godzilla Minus might have been a better translation than Minus One, but I guess the general sentiment remains the same. Here we get the first of several scenes that feature Godzilla battling against the Navy in some way. Some early rumors suggested Godzilla might be battling against the Imperial Japanese Navy battleship Nagato. However, I think it's much more likely that he'll be battling against the US Navy here, which of course had numerous battleships, cruisers, destroyers, and aircraft carriers at its disposal in 1947. There's a scene of a trawling boat pulling something, and we get a few shots of the ship's crew, so I think there will be characters that we follow for at least a portion of the film. Another theme of Godzilla Minus One seems to focus on a government cover-up, which has also been a plot point in Shin Godzilla and Godzilla 1985. There's a shot of microfilm marked with property of the United States government and what looks like a scientist or government official giving a slideshow presentation, possibly reminiscent of Dr. Yamane in the original film. And we get more shots of ships nearly colliding with each other. Also, one of our protagonists screams at the devastation that he's just witnessed. It seems that Godzilla Minus One will have a strong focus on the psychological horror aspect of being a survivor and witnessing the devastation caused by Godzilla. A shot of a finger pointing at Tokyo on a map shows that it will at least be one of the major locations targeted by Godzilla in this film, probably the primary location. And Godzilla reaches up out of the water here and attacks what appears to be a battleship and then detonates the ship with his atomic breath, which results in another mushroom cloud type explosion. This provides further evidence that the earlier blast may be from Godzilla himself. -1 seems to feature a lot of naval battles, which would be in line with Yamazaki's own interest in naval history, and is something of interest for kaiju fans, as apart from a sequence in Godzilla vs. Biollante and Godzilla vs. Kong, there haven't been many scenes that have shown him at sea fighting surface ships. This is much more visually impressive generally than Godzilla fighting tanks and planes, which I'm sure will also feature heavily in -1 at some point. We get more scenes of citizens in despair, another common theme in this film, and a sunken transport ship, possibly leading up to Godzilla's landfall in Tokyo later in the film. This is followed by a ship being launched into the city, so this is possibly also heralding Godzilla's arrival in the city. A broken man states that that monster will never forgive us, possibly referring to mankind for inventing the atomic bomb that created him or woke him up, or however the plot goes in this film, followed by the caption, "Survive and fight." The last shot shows Godzilla on a beach next to the wreckage of another naval ship, followed by the film's G logo and the title -1. A postscript scene shows what appears to be a badly burned Godzilla roaring either triumphantly or perhaps defiantly into the sky. The burns here could be from the military or even the fallout from his own atomic breath attack, as the mushroom cloud would radiate outward from his target and most likely right into his own face. Or perhaps there's even another kaiju in the film as well. While the -1 trailer seems to be following a formula set in the films as the 1954 original, 1984's Return of Godzilla, and Shin Godzilla of the standalone monster versus humanity film, it's still possible this movie might feature another kaiju similar to Godzilla Raids Again, since Bandai's upcoming -1 toy line features a mysterious Monster A listing, which we don't really know much about. There have even been some long-standing rumors that there'll be more than one Godzilla in -1, which makes sense because a species would require multiple members to exist, unless this is a one-off mutation, of course. It might not be as outlandish as one might think. After all, the original Rodan featured 2 of the titular kaiju, so it's been done before. In any case, it's still too early to tell, and it's apparent from the trailer that Toho doesn't want to give anything away just yet. So that's it for the Godzilla -1 trailer breakdown. Let me know your thoughts about the film in the comments below, as well as what you hope to see in the movie. If you liked the video, be sure to hit the thumbs up button and consider subscribing for more like this in the future. I hope you have a safe and fantastic day, and as always, thanks for watching.